Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden. Today is an emotional day. It's very much a 10th ethical perspective, emotional fluidity, and I am just so angry. I have not been this angry in a long time. A lot of people think that anger is something that you just stop feeling. Well, as long as you're human, you're going to feel it. And there are 3 stages to anger. The first stage is the violence aggression, and that's something we see from first, second, third, fourth ethical perspectives. And then it moves into action and talking communication. That's the 5th and the 6th ethic. And then at the 10th ethical perspective, it becomes strategic navigation, strategic action, where anger is actually used as fuel toward a certain goal. I've already written articles and it's just not touching it. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just talk. And I am a very firm believer, oh, I know it, I know she is, that when anger comes to us, it's because something has caused us or the world damage, and action is required. And I cannot identify the source of where the damage is coming from, or where the assault or the attack is coming from. It feels like logical contradiction due to an attack on my logical code, and it is frustration of the severity of education, which is no news to me. I'm well aware of the damage and the severity of it. And I'm struggling. There is this massive thing that just got put out there where they increased the wages of teachers, and teachers are screaming and squabbling over who is getting paid what. And I'm going, none of you are doing a fucking thing with your job. None of you are actually teaching. And instead of addressing that problem, they're chasing tails. And I know they're incompetent. I'm well aware that they can't do their job. I'm well aware that the people above them can't teach them how to do their job. And the people above them have no idea how to do education. I've had conversations with those people, and they don't know a damn thing about education or the subconscious mind. Because in order to know anything about subconscious minds or education, you have to know about the subconscious mind. And Edgar Dale provided this information to us back in the 60s, and not one single school in the United States has even bothered to follow what Edgar Dale provided. Not one. So we're all looking around going, now what do we do? We're all fucked. And here's the thing, and we know this, is that the system has abandoned us. The system has failed us. We know this. And I've already built the Healing Garden as an answer to that problem because they can't do their fucking job. So I built my program. I built my people. I built this up. I had a beautiful meeting today with somebody where we went over the entire plan, the societal plug-in. It's set, it's done, it's out there. And I have all these people coming to me. And I get about 4 or 5 people now coming in asking me about it. And I'm just like, life did not have to be as nearly hard as it was. Oh, I found the core. I found the core. This is personal. Oh. I have never in my life viewed my abusers as being men. They were, but I never looked at them and went, oh, men abused me. I never did that in my brain. I never looked at my abusers and went, these are the type of people who abused me. The common denominator that I found in all of my abusers was their lack of education. That if the goddamn educational department had done their job, then people would have been prepared to not abuse other people. But because educators are so incompetent, they're not preparing people on how to handle their emotions, how to handle themselves, how to handle their abuse. So they project it onto other people, project it onto other people, and other people get abused. And then I get people hearing my story, and they're saying things to me like, who was it? Where were you? I grew up in Africa. No, I didn't. I grew up in New York State. I was abused in a white supremacist town by a bunch of fucking New Yorkers, right on the Pennsylvania border, where the education is so egregious. The people are so racist, they don't even know they're racist. Where people are so ignorant, they don't even know they're slave owners. That's how fucking uneducated they are. So I view ignorance as my abuser. Ignorance is what abused me. And people are wanting this elaborate story of these vile, horrible villains. And it's just education. It's just ignorance. My father was a good man who was just really uneducated. And my brother was a very confused person who had to endure beatings because he didn't understand, because he lacked the education, how a girl could be smart. And they were so ignorant, they didn't know they were ignorant. So ignorant, they didn't know they were ignorant. So when people find out how I endured and what I endured and why, bottom line, because educators didn't do their fucking job. That's why. I suffered for 40 years because educators couldn't educate. Well, that explains the personal vendetta I have with education. I've wondered that. I'm like, why am I have this thing on education? Because I do blame education 100% for the reason why I had to suffer. Why it took me 40 years to get out. And I only got out because I couldn't be used for breeding. So yeah. And it's making sense now. It's making absolute sense. And these dip fucks are now arguing over their pay, claiming that they're doing a great job. Meanwhile, 98% of the population has a mental health crisis because they are too fucking stupid themselves to even know what they need to educate people in. So yes, today I'm angry because it was for nothing. It's all for nothing. It was for nothing. You have one job. Educate people. As far as I'm concerned, educators can just go to fucking hell. What people really need. And I've been asking myself this for the last year. If I'm building a university and I'm building an educational system, what do you guys need to know? I didn't walk away from the United States government's educational system going, wow, I feel unprepared, because I supplemented my education with Plato. In 1992, I had already figured out how fucking incompetent the educational system was because I caught them in 3 logical fallacies. I caught my teachers in 3 logical fallacies and went, well, you're not qualified to teach. And then when I saw what the government was doing in 1995, I went, you guys really aren't qualified to oversee my education. So I hired Plato for the job. And the reason why I hired Plato was because I took a step back and I asked the world, of all the educators in all the world, who was the best? Well, that was Alexandria. They were so fucking good at education that they had a city of education, not just a university, a city, the whole city of education. It was an epicenter. It was an education capital of the world. And I went, now these guys have their shit together. So I decided to do their school instead. They put out minds like Euclid and Pythagoras. They put out minds like, well, everyone else is teaching math. They invented it. Well, everyone else is teaching music. They invented music theory. And I'm going, all right, these are the people. These are who I want to learn from. I want to learn from the brains that actually knew how to invent academic disciplines. So I did. In 1992, in an encyclopedia set, I found Plato's curriculum. His curriculum. Step 1, do this. Step 2, I went, whoa, it's curriculum. So I did it. And it did things to my brain. It did things to my brain that by the time I was 15, I was smarter than Einstein. That was not me just flouting shit. I got an IQ test and my IQ was 180 when I was 15. And I went, all right, this stuff is awesome. And it didn't stop. So I don't have to answer to a goddamn person on this planet. There is no peer for me. Euclid is my peer. Fuck them. Their fucking educational system cost me 40 years of domesticated enslavement. They get to answer to me. Because their fucking incompetence in their job cost me greatly. Now that I have that established, what I learned that I was prepared for was problem solving. That is what I learned. I learned problem solving. I learned how to evaluate a situation and solve it. I learned how to do equation building. You have to know equation building. See, there's problem solving, but that's really vague. It's equation building. You have to be able to assess all of the components, put them together in strategic orders, and then execute. It's literally chain reaction science. You're going to need to know how to use your subconscious mind because, it's in your brain. So you're going to need that. So you're going to need the subconscious mind. You're going to need the prosthetic subconscious mind. Now, I use integrated mathematics. It was funny because I taught that to my daughter the other day. And she went, wait a minute. So I'm going to teach you integrated mathematics. You have your mom, which is a whole, and you have your father, which is a whole. And when they integrate, you get one whole, you. So 1 + 1 = 1. That's integrated mathematics. It's 1 integrated into 1 equals 1 whole. So 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is into an integrated 1. With integration, it's no matter, you have to now be able to identify all the components and then you integrate them into the 1. So the real challenge, chain reaction science does this, is trying to figure out all the components. So that's the real question. How do you find all the components? You know all the components when you have full visibility. So what it is it's your visibility in ratio to well, it's a dichotomy. Invisibility. No confusion. When you have full comprehension, you're looking for 100% full comprehension. So 100% full comprehension, visibility in ratio to the dichotomy and the visibility that is confusion. There you go. It's 100% in ratio to your own confusion. Once you have all the components, oh, you're fine. Oh, you'll know immediately. It will all come clear to you, and it'll just. So you really want to you really want to evaluate it based upon your own confusion. A lot of people said they wanted to learn how to do their taxes. So for them, I'm going to throw that in there. I'm looking for somebody right now. But problem solving, chain reaction science, and the discipline of your subconscious mind. The discipline of your subconscious mind is a huge part of it. Also, your life journey. Your life journey, and then how to learn. So there's how to learn, your life journey, and then your subconscious mind. Subconscious mind, your life journey, and then learning how to learn. Yeah, my anger is gone now. That's exactly what it is. I have been trying to figure out why I have such a hatred and loathing for educators lately, and now I know. It's because of them that I had to suffer what I did. Had they done their fucking job, then I would have been spared all of my abuse. And now that I've said it, it's definitely when I started my study, trying to locate the catalyst to this nightmare, I thought it was psychologists. So I studied psychology. Well, I've been studying psychology, but I studied psychologists. I studied their educational system, and I realized, well, they're incompetent because their educators are incompetent. So then I tracked it back to educators. And then I found the fucking pomposity and the arrogance of said educators. And I went, oh, well, there's all the abusers claiming that they know their fucking job when they can't even, they have no idea the consequence of their incompetence. And I think that really was a big part of my problem, was they're ignorant of their consequences. They're that, and then that's it exactly. They have no accountability. Oh, that's it. They're not fifth perspectives. That explains that. I'm dealing with a bunch of fifth perspectives. Well, people who are not, oh, that, there it is. I know the mindset. They're third and fourth perspectives. Because if they were fifth perspectives, they would be getting their own job. I see. Oh, and that makes sense now because they're fourth perspective, so they don't self-govern. That makes sense as well. Right. They're a bunch of governed sheep thinking that they're, I see. I understand. They are under the impression that teaching is a when I went through my studies with philosophy, you don't use the word philosopher. You do not use the word, you are a discipulus. That is their word for it, discipulus. It means a follower of a philosopher or a student. You are a student. I was a student for 30 years. I was a student for 30 years. And I remember this one point when I realized I wasn't learning anything new. I was just cycling it over. I realized I reached that point of mastery where I didn't need cue cards. I didn't need index cards. I could just talk. And I went, whoa. Now I'd studied learning. So I knew the symptoms, the signs, and I'm going, based off of ABC, that means this is where I'm at, which means I'm a philosopher now. And I had this grand ethical, what do I do? Am I allowed to do this? Am I? So I said, I took a huge step back. And I had a long talk with myself on whether or not it was okay to actually accept the title of philosopher. And I decided I did. But rule number one, you do not call yourself a teacher. You do not call yourself a teacher. It's such a pompous, arrogant title. We do not call ourselves teachers. That's why we're called philosophers. We're not teachers. We don't do that. We empower. And I really want to impart this. I really, really want to impart this lesson because this is what philosophy taught me. Philosophy taught me that a teacher, if you were to strip away the arrogance, is actually a leader that is supposed to be leading through empowerment underneath the student, which means the leader should be under the student, which is why philosophers taught in amphitheaters, because the teacher sat below everybody, because that's where you empower people. And teachers are condescending narcissists who are there for the power. I don't go near those people. I understand now. I walked into a narcissist's nest today. I understand what I did. Not the smartest move. I love it when I'm stupid. I really love the moments where I'm stupid and I go, look at that. I have things to learn. I have lessons to learn. All right. I love growth. It feels so good. Don't walk into the narcissist's nest. Okay. I won't walk into the narcissist's nest. Yes. You're not going to influence people there. That's right. I was just very angry because of their incompetence and I didn't know what was going on and I needed to yes, all right. I love it. I love it. This is humility and this is humbleness. And it's just really wonderful because it's free. It's really free. It's really free. And then there's the assholes who sit there and tell you, oh, you're not healed if you're, excuse you. Excuse you. I've been through those conversations too, where if you're angry, you can't be healed. Oh, don't listen to that. That's bullshit. Just because you feel anger does not mean you're not healed. That's bullshit. Healed implies that you're broken. You're not broken. You're a human being. You are just a beautiful human being. I hate the word teach. I hate it. I hate everything about it. It's disgusting and dirty. It's why we call them philosophers. Because they're thinking, ethical thinking. They're ethical thinkers. That's what a philosopher is. They're ethical thinking. They lead from the bottom, where they can inspire, where they can motivate. I am an exception to the rule. You get that privilege when you can think for yourself. And that's absolutely what I want for every single person out there. Rules are for fourth perspectives and unders. They are not for people who know how to self-govern. A rule is a projected personal law from someone else. It's imprisonment, it's enslavement from small minds who have no idea what an ethical IQ is. You want to be an ethical leader. At the bottom, inspiring, motivating. But you don't want to motivate. You should be self-motivated, which means what you really need is empowerment, because empowerment does teach you how to self-motivate. See, and that's just it. You're supposed to be learning how to fish. Your educators are not supposed to be feeding you. And if they knew a goddamn thing about education, they know that. It's time to get angry so you can take this anger and then turn it into kinetic energy and transfer it into change. That's how it's done, because that's physics. And they would know that if they were educated. You see the theme here? Anger is one of the most beautiful emotions. It really is. The 10th ethic, emotional fluidity. And then the 11th ethic is logical navigation. And it was amazing. I walked into the 11th ethic and I went, oh, it's logic. Oh, hello, my dear old friend. Oh, I loved it. And I brought it into me. And so I had 10 years of my life where I was Spock. I don't remember what it's called. Was it Kalinar? It's that state of pure, perfect logic. I lived there for 10 years of my life, like logic. So when I got to the 11th ethic, I was like, oh, I know this one. I was there for a very short period of time because I knew it so well. And I realized it was instantaneous. It was like I had figured out that by that point, you're walking in with one of the ethics. And the purpose is to integrate them into the next one. So at the 11th ethic, I'm like, all right, I got to integrate the 10th into the 11th. So I had emotional fluidity with the logical navigation. And I went, oh, these things go together. So you're supposed to take emotional fluidity and shove it into your logical navigation, to use your emotions to logically navigate and circumvent through life. And I went, oh, what beautiful genius is this, Mother Nature? So yes, that's what I learned at the 10th and the 11th, was that we are supposed to be using emotions as fuel, physics fuel, to logically navigate our lives with strategy. And isn't that gorgeous? And I'm like, yes, this is beautiful. You're supposed to be 10 and 11 years old when you learn this. So it feels good. It feels really good. I don't want the word to teach. I'm going to look it up. What does the dictionary say? To teach. Definition. Instruct. Instructions. Instructions. Now that's good. Instruction. That is decent. That is phenomenal. I'm going to put that in big, bold, marquee letters. Instructions. Now that is correct. You know what instructions are? Recipes and formulas. So you are supposed to be getting the formulas and the recipes. So that is what a teacher is. They are a recipe provider. Do the math. Do you have a teacher standing there with you in the kitchen going, all right, this is the part where you need to put the eggs into the flour. Have you put the eggs into the flour? Okay, very good. Now you need to get the 1 cup measuring cup. That's right. And you want to get the water. No, you read. Isn't that amazing? If you can read, then you don't need a recipe person. You can just read. Isn't that amazing? Read. Read. So we can actually replace the instructors with read. This is called DIY self-teaching. This is what I teach. But in order to do that, you need to know exactly what's going on. This is bottom line, is in the future, there's not going to be any teachers. There really isn't. They're out of a job. That's something that you really don't need. Okay, fun fact. The first 10 years of my life, I didn't actually have any teachers. We had supervisors. A supervisor was a 17-year-old person who stood in the room and left us alone to read. I didn't actually have my first teacher until I was in the 6th grade. All I had was self-reading and self-teaching. And they just stood there making sure we did the work. That's all they did. All I did every day, I walked up, I took her my paces, and she just circled which page number to give me a goal. Sometimes I would negotiate. Can I do more? Sometimes I would just finish the entire book in a day. I did that a lot. So that's what it taught me. You don't need teachers. Kindergarten, 1st grade, yes. They taught me how to read, and then it was like, get out of my way, I got this. That's what I did. They taught me how to read, and it was like, oh, that's the beginning of the end. I don't need you. Thank you very much. And that's it. You only need kindergarten teachers. Kindergarten teachers are the best because they're the ones who are actually doing their job. Teach them how to read, get out of the way. I got this. That's the way it's supposed to be. All you need is learn how to read. Learn how to read. Learn how to read. That's all you need. Oh, what am I doing? I mean, I already built this. This is why it's on my website. This is what I built. This is what I built. There you go. This is what I built. I had somebody sitting there today saying all this shit about, what about your journals? Why am I going to do that? So I can get your, I don't have fucking journal shit. I'm not looking for that kind of shit. I don't value it. And not in the system. Yeah, I really should not have walked into the narcissist nest today. Live and learn. Yeah, I was just really angry. I had some shit that I needed to just settle with myself. So the reason why I do all of this is because I want to show you what it's like to be human. That no matter how ethical you are going to be, you are still going to be human. The problem is we confuse unethical with inhuman all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. Ethics and humanity are 100% the same thing. But the problem is people think that anger is unethical. That's like saying being hungry is unethical. It's an emotion. People are people. There's a purpose for your anger. There's something you're supposed to do with it. Apparently, I was supposed to confront my demon, which is I blame and I do. Educators are responsible for the abuse I suffered, and they're not going to answer for it. They're too stupid and uneducated to know what their lack of education is costing the world. That because some dipshit who's sitting there flouting his own authority because he's got a massive case of narcissist, he's a victim too. We all are victims. And I've already set things in motion to fix it. But apparently I really need to have this one out with myself. And I think finally, no, I know what it was. I'm going forward with my school and my university. And it's not yet an official university. Right now, it's just here's my blog, here's my information, here's the math, logic, and physics. I don't answer to people because I got Mother Nature side. And when I have the world's most renowned mathematician looking at my work going, yep, this is good, this is solid. That's all that's all I need. That's all I need. I don't have time to placate my ego. You know, that's it really. That is exactly what publishing in these journals is. It's flouting your fucking ego. I'm not here for my ego. I'm not here for my fucking ego. God, that pisses me off. And that's just the difference. How many people pursue degrees for their fucking ego? I got people to save. I got people to empower. I don't have time to get prestige for my fucking ego. I love myself. I really love who I am, but I really don't need to placate my fucking, I know how awesome I am. Don't need fucking peer review shit. I mean, I need people to check the math to make sure the math is correct, but the math is correct, because when the math isn't correct, then the physics wouldn't have fallen into place. See, that's the beautiful thing, is when you do the logic right, the math shows up. And when you do the math right, the physics shows up. And when you do the physics right, the chemistry shows up. So when I started to get actual chemistry showing up, I went, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I know this is right. I know this is right, because math confirmed my logic and physics just proved my math. And now chemistry is proving my physics. I really don't give a shit after that. I mean, I love chemistry, but it's like, some of the stuff is starting to turn into biology, which is really cool, so that just proves my chemistry is right too. Because that's the kind of shit you learn when you study from Plato. That when all the other maths and scientists show up in the right order, it's because they are confirming your work. So you know it's right. So I really don't need anyone else. Because are you a higher authority than physics? You show me someone who's a higher authority than chemistry. So I think that's really it. I think that's why I'm going, yeah, I don't need peer review. I don't need an authority, because physics showed up to prove my math. So fuck the system. Humanity is something that many of us are confused about. I'm going to do human classes. That's what we're going to do. Human classes. How does that sound? I want to do human classes. Today, we're going to learn how to be human. Yes, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. We're going to call these human classes. That's right. Human classes. Oh, yes. How to be human. I have how to be a pirate. Now we're going to be how to be a human. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. How to be a human. And I'm going to put, like, in parentheses, a nice. How to be a nice human. It won't be nice. It'll be nice. But that just looks weird, right? How to be a nice human. That's what we're going to do. How to be nice. But not like doormat nice. No. How to be a human. We're going to teach you how to people. That's right. That's right. That's the kind of shit I love to do. And the best part is when you have these realizations, you just have this freedom, like, oh, look, I've purged this nasty thing in my chest and now I feel fantastic. And that's where I am right now. I feel fucking fantastic because I purged this horrible thing in my chest. I finally gave name. The naming is very important to your healing. That isn't actually healing, it's remembering, but you need to name it. You need to name it. That's part of the human course. So we're going to have a pirate course and a human course. I'm going to have a lot of teachers hate me, and that's okay. I don't need them to like me. They're the assholes who fucked my life up for the first 40 years of my life, but I fixed it because I knew problem-solving skills. All right, so we're going to have human classes, and we're going to have pirate classes. The pirate classes are on Monday. They're amazing. The pirate classes is literally a pirate journey into the seas where we practice with our make-believe and imagination. It's a playroom. We're going to become children again. This is for our inner child because we need the shit. And we're going to become people again. That's what that is. That's my how to be a pirate class. How to be a pirate class. How to be a human class. We're going to talk about being human. That's right. How to be a human. It's really amazing shit. I think of all the things and all the physics that I have studied. Resistance is the worst. We are allergic to resistance. Like, we cannot be around it. It is the most toxic thing. Is logical fallacy more toxic than resistance? That's an interesting one. Is logical fallacy more toxic than resistance? Logical fallacy is when you have an out-of-phase signal. That's pretty fucking toxic. Resistance is when you resist the fluidity, when you resist the flow of energy, which is why you should not suppress your emotions, because your emotions are energy. Physics has a lot to say with that. Nor should you suppress your emotions, which is also a type of resistance. Hence the 10th ethic of emotional fluidity and the 11th ethic of logical logic. Like, that's it right there. You see how this is all coming back to physics? It's like the 10th and the 11th ethic is all right. We're going to teach you how to physics your brain, because your brain is physics. It's called mental physics. It's amazing shit. I really need a new name for it. I've been calling it Pythagorean psychology, and that's going to stick. I'm keeping that, Pythagorean psychology. But that's it. The 10th ethic is emotional flow. And logic is, we're going to learn about frequency. So you want energy, freedom, energy flow, and frequency. That's really what you're learning at the 10th and the 11th ethic, is physics. Now, the 12th ethic is interesting because you learn non-judgment, and you learn forgiveness. And you learn how to integrate energy flow and frequency. So you merge energy flow into frequency. That's when I became an electromagnetic field inside of my body. And I went, whoa, this is an atom. Physics is cool. I really needed to get all of that anger out. I really needed to go through that growth spurt. I really needed to identify the core of my anger towards teachers. I did not ever see any of my abusers as anything more than just ignorant. All of them were just ignorant. Had they right the education, they never would have hurt anybody. And they were spending more time fucking around and blaming, which is why teachers have no fucking business teaching until they are at least at the 10th ethic, which is what I've been saying from day one. But according to Plato, and according to the ethical perspective stages of human growth and development, I didn't reach this shit until the 31st ethic. 31st, I need to clarify. So the 31st ethic is actually the 31st level of consciousness, which is 12, and then 12 is 24, and then 31 minus 24 is 6. The 6th ethical perspective of the 3rd round. So you have to be halfway through the 3rd round before you get to that point of, oh, this is how you teach. Oh, and then you see how there are humble psychologists and there are humble teachers. And that is exactly what I need to address, is the humble teachers and the humble psychologists. Okay. All right. Because that's what I need to do. There you go. I did this with psychology, where I had a lot of anger with the psychologists. And then I went, oh. So I'm going to like just start up I'm just going to like do a call to action for humble teachers and humble psychologists. Okay. All right. I need to do that. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.